I rise to continue our conversation about underlying issues within and without this bill and talk a little bit about something better that we can do. And in that spirit, I offer the A8 amendment to the amendment, Mr. President. And I ask for a roll call as well, please.
Senator Putnam offers the A8 amendment to the amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Putnam moves to amend the Isaacson Amendment to House File Number 1065 as follows, page 2 after line 21. Insert. This is the A8 amendment.
A roll call will be granted on the amendment to the amendment. Senator Putnam.
Mr. President and members, when we talk about education savings accounts and the vouchers that are within them, when we talk about diverting resources from the public to a private interest, very often we start using words like choice. We talk about choice and we talk about opportunity. I think that when we do that, we're operating with some misunderstandings of both those words. Now, when we talk about choice and we're trying to divert funds from the public to private interests and we use the word choice, then we often, in answer to that concern or as a way of getting around it, bring up issues of equity and opportunity for all. Now, Mr. President and members, I'm not going to impugn anyone's motives. I would never do that. I would never suggest that this is an appropriation of the language of equity for political gain. I'm not going there. I don't believe that. Instead, I think it must arise from ignorance of what these programs have actually done and what we're already doing in service of equity when we can do so much more. Now, Mr. President, members, the movement toward choice, this modern idea of using school board monies, using public monies to support private education, comes from segregation. In response to the two decisions in Brown versus Board of Education, lots of school districts closed down instead of educating diverse populations. Well, after 15 years after the second Brown versus Board decision, only 7% of the schools in North Carolina were desegregated. And that's because school districts chose to close down rather than teach integrated schools. In Virginia in 1959 was one of the first efforts for an actual, what we would call voucher program, where public funds went to individuals to use in private schools in Virginia in 1959. And it was a direct result of taking funds out of the public schools to enable people who were already in good schools to stay in those good schools or to move them into private schools. That is where this movement towards vouchers or private school subsidies comes from. But we have to be fair when we acknowledge that history and realize, Mr. President and members, that where something began is not necessarily what it becomes or what it is now. Not necessarily. That history is important, but the provenance is not determinate in that way.